wait, I know that you're afraid, but it'll be okay if you just stay with me. And we can run from here, and we can disappear, and they won't find us where we are going, dear. So baby, hold on to me, 'cause I know I can make you believe in something that only we can see. Oh, so baby, hold on to me, hold on to me. Baby, wait, I know that you're afraid, but it'll be okay if you just stay with me. And we can run from here, and we can disappear, and they won't find us where we are going, dear. So baby, hold on to me, 'cause I know I can make you believe in something that only we can see. Oh, so baby, hold on to me, hold on to me.
So come on, Joe. Does the music win tonight? Have we finally got good tunes, man?
My bandwidth is poop.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
You amateur.
It's either that or that music really sucks. I can't tell.
Oh, that's so grim, Joe. That's so grim. Joe,
Oh, sorry. I didn't get it.
just remember, right? Just remember the first rule of live bearding is don't talk about live bearding. How you doing, Popeye?
I'm doing fine, Kev. How are you this evening?
All the better for you being here, obviously. Looking forward to another 2 hours of madness. See what direction you take us tonight.
It's like I see how you're starting this off. So anywhere we go is my fault.
Absolutely. It saves Joe blaming me for the music. So I've already been blamed for something, man.
Yeah.
Well done, Kevin.
Joe looks like he's coming to us live through a
I'm
chronovisor.
coming from Mars, actually. Me and Captain K, we're over here throwing some back, and we just wanted you to.
Hey, you.
I we're doing some like effect. I'm like, is that some like shitty video?
No, dude.
Just-
Honestly, I think my camera's going the way of the dodo. But in the meantime, it kind of gives like this retro NASA moon landing kind of feel to it. You know, so I'm
Question: Do you feel it was the Illuminati, Joe?
no, I feel it was the
the camera out.
I feel it was the sister organization Killuminati that did it.
So there is. So it's like
There's an assassin wing of it called Killuminati.
It's like a riddle hidden inside of a mystery.
That's right.
An enigma, right?
You got it. You got it.
Okay, got it.
I'm quite known for shilling for NASA this week, so Gravity. Yeah, Gravity. It's in this week. We can talk about that. We can talk about black holes, Joe. I'm shilling for NASA, dude.
Good.
Yeah. We've got
Good.
Scotty
Check.
Lopez.
Where's your T-shirt, Kev?
Well, I don't
Where's
have a T-shirt,
one-
but my guest the other night literally had a NASA patch on his wall just to trigger the viewers because
I
obviously
love it. I absolutely love it.
you get an astrophysicist on Popeye, and obviously the trolls are going to call you a NASA shill. So the guy plays up to it. I think it's brilliant.
I know,
Yeah.
you can't win, Kev. It doesn't matter.
No.
I mean, look, I know NASA lies, but like, I mean, does that mean
How long have we been
anything
doing
from
this,
NASA?
How long have we been doing this?
Say what we should like look at what they say and the stuff that they produce with a level of skepticism always.
How
But
about
you automatically go from like 0 to, oh my God, NASA's fake and gravity doesn't exist.
and everything's a false flag?
How do we, first of all, if gravity doesn't exist, perhaps it's not gravity. Maybe we don't have a full understanding of gravity. I can accept that. I can accept that we can learn something new and understand a concept scientifically a lot better.
Yeah.
But that there's not a force holding us to the planet, then how do we not fly off?
Because the Earth is flat and we live in a dome, asshole.
Oh, a snow globe. It's my fault. That's my fault. It's my fault.
Don't let the beard blind you, Popeye.
Yes,
I'm
please.
sorry. That's right. Logic. Took over. I was trying to think rationally.
That's
sorry.
why my camera doesn't work that well, because it's hard to get through the rock layer. See, I'm down in the basement.
You know what it is? It's hard to get. You can't. There's no satellites, so your signal has to go from antenna to antenna to antenna, and there's probably a bat or a bird or some shit flying in and out of your antenna range. And the whole signal off. Oh, flat Earth problems.
Joe looks like
you can see this kind of night. This is going to be one for the ages. No doubt. I hope everybody's buckled up because it's going to be a real feisty one.
Show us your sex doll face, Joe. That's a good way to start the show. Come on, man.
There you go. That's the sex doll face.
Yeah, you
That
look like
the face and the lag, the internet lag, is perfect because it looks creepy enough for like a second or two where somebody could still shot it. And you know those videos you'll find on YouTube, the most disturbing video ever seen on YouTube. There'll be a still shot of Joe, just like that.
Oh yeah, dude,
Joe will become.
time.
He'll become the new Momo thing. New Momo challenge.
the JoJo challenge.
The JoJo challenge. You're gonna put those.
Yeah.
You gonna get that big beak face like you're from Beetlejuice.
Yeah. That's it. My God.
Fucking media, dude. Anything to demonize the internet. I mean, for real. Anything that they can jump on. Let's go. They don't even try to report stories anymore. Everything is let's go to fucking 4chan or 8chan, find what somebody's talking about on a message board, and that's a news story.
Well, because it's so much more entertaining. It's so much more what people want. Really, they don't want the truth or real news. They want what they want to hear. That's why everything's a fucking echo chamber now.
Well, because collusion. Oh, wait a minute.
Did you have to?
There wasn't.
And I tried real hard, Scotty. I tried to keep it out. I tried.
Look at Scott. He's just waiting to get in there. Look at him. Come on, Scott. I know you want to address your friends in the left today.
Go get him, boy. Go get him.
No. Look, I was telling Kev before the show that it's a guilty pleasure of mine to
It's an obsession.
Well, I'm just saying. It's funny. It's just funny seeing the mainstream media fucking flip out right now.
Oh,
Like,
dude, isn't it awesome?
If we could somehow give you an exoskeleton, I just wonder if I could somehow give you an exoskeleton, right? And then all of a sudden you have like superhuman ability. I wonder what the hell Scotty would do. After all that, all the injustice and everything, and Popeye could like maybe weave you a cape out of his beard.
It'd be like the Dark Iron Man, basically. Dark Iron Man.
It'd be badass. I could see it now.
So what's happened? I mean, was there no Russians involved? Imagine my surprise.
Oops.
No collusion, no obstruction. That's it.
He's
Said
just
and
a
done.
dumbass. It's just that's the way it works. He's just
Okay, so does that mean we can get onto like real things?
no. Because see, now what they got to do is they have to have 2 years of congressional hearings
I just
about
wanted to
how come
clarify.
they didn't come to that conclusion, and then after that, then you have to have
The
the
Russian
I'm pissed.
Now,
Yeah, now it's the I'm pissed. Now Hillary, we have to investigate you for 2 years and throw more distraction out there and more bullshit.
They won't investigate her.
Oh, come on. They got to do something. They got to do something to keep this shit going.
Her. Please, I wish they would.
Who gives a shit if they do or don't? Because you know what? It's not like justice is ever served.
Yeah, honestly, I really don't want them to because she's never going to get arrested, and they're just going to waste time and energy.
Piss you off. Yeah, and piss you off even more.
Well, they don't. I mean, what have they focused on? Nothing. Everything is Orange Man bad 24/7. Now what? Now what? Now
Russian man good.
That's why it's so funny. That's why it's so hilarious to see. It's so hilarious to see the meltdown, man. Like Chuck Todd on MSNBC looked like he was about to physically get sick. He looked pale. Good. Like he was about to throw up on air.
I enjoy that.
I was like laughing my ass off.
I enjoy that.
Tear.
Hey, by the way, and Kev, this is kind of important. Okay, so Tessa1111 in the chat room wants the 300 million back. I guess she paid in taxes. She's rich as hell, yo. You might want to get a subscription.
How many millions in tax dollars were wasted on that? Yeah, how many millions of tax dollars were wasted on the investigation?
I think like six.
Everything's new.
They're going to point to Cohen being indicted and arrested and found guilty. They're going to focus on Paul Manafort, and they're going to be like, look, Roger Stone. But were any of them colluding with the Russians?
No, they don't know.
Investigation was originally for. No, they weren't. You caught them on. That's why special counsels are kind of bullshit, because they can dig up whatever they want and find any dirt on whoever they're trying to bury. And like the old saying goes, you can indict a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that Manafort didn't do anything wrong, or what's the point, by the way, of throwing an older guy who's not in the best of health into jail at this point?
Because he was an ambitious individual, kind of driven to make money, and he did.
I mean, that's funny. Manafort wasn't doing anything that any of them do. You know what I'm talking about? They all do the same shit Manafort did, but they just decided to nail him for it.
He's gonna get pardoned. Watch, they'll all get pardoned.
He'll get pardoned. He's a sacrificial lamb, right? And everybody's like, so that they have something they could be like, look, Paul Manafort went to jail. Ha ha, Roger.
Don't worry.
No douchebags. Did you actually?
I don't know, Ricky.
Did we solve anything? We spent all this time, energy, effort, and money on what? What? Well, fucking done. Well done. Well done.
Chewie says it's all bullshit.
Let me give you a fucking golf clap, you idiots. Well done.
So in the case of Manafort, right? He'll come out and emerge stronger than he did when he went in. Watch.
He'll write a book. He'll write a book, Joe, and
he'll make millions of dollars on that shit. They'll make a movie about it.
My time, millions of dollars. Paul Manafort. There's your title, buddy. I want some royalties, Paul, when you get out. My time as a Democratic target.
Yeah.
Could be worse, boys. It could be worse, right? At least you don't have Uri Geller trying to affect your democracy with mass telepathy. I shit you not. This is the latest thing. This is the latest thing to knock back Brexit. They've employed Uri Geller, the man famous for bending spoons, to change the mind of a nation.
Can I just point out that if Brexit wasn't such a threat to the EU, then why are they spending so much effort and energy and time trying to convince everybody that it's a bad idea and that they shouldn't do it?
Exactly.
They're not worried about it. Really?
It's like I keep telling people, Popeye, everyone says, oh, that Theresa May, she's doing such a terrible job. Well, only if you're thinking that she works for us. Because in reality, she works for the EU, and they're probably giving her a big pat on the back every time she goes over there. Because she is doing a brilliant job of fucking up Brexit. Absolutely brilliant job.
I don't understand what is, what really is there to understand? The people voted for it. Get it done. I mean, I know that there's politics and everything, but like, how are the people? You guys got to get back out in the street and get angry. And oh wait, that doesn't work. Never mind.
Oh no, there was 1 million people out on the street this weekend demanding that we tear up the vote and we either have another one or we just ignore the result altogether and we just stay in the EU. Because
there you go.
Because I mean, there's going to be troops on the street. The cows are going to stop producing milk. Cows won't. You know, we're not going to be able to eat animals anymore. Netflix isn't going to work when we go on holiday. The fucking sky is going to fall down. You know, be scared, Popeye.
How they use that, Kev? That's one of my favorites. Netflix won't work. And it's like, it reminds me of the movie. You remember the movie Airplane? Remember the Airplane 2? They're in the space shuttle. And she's like, we're a little off course. And the lady's like, and how much is a little? And she's like, in space terms, it's about 10 million miles. And everyone's like, oh. And then she's like, those bumps you feel are asteroids smashing into the hull of the ship. And everyone's like, oh. And some guy goes, ma'am, are you sure you're not telling us everything? And she's like, oh, and we're also out of coffee. And the fucking plane just erupts into utter chaos.
There you go.
Wait, that's correct right now.
Look at them all.
And then it's like, we're going to lose Brexit. Or we're going to lose Netflix if you Brexit.
Look at all these enemies of democracy. Look at them. Look at them all swarming like sheep.
Oh my God.
It's like over here, everybody's socialist now. It's okay, you know?
It's a cool thing to be socialist, even though socialism doesn't really exist. It's communism, and communism is really illuminism.
Look at these people, man. Jesus wept. All to rip
all
up
I'm say is where
the vote.
I'm just waiting for the Benny Hill music to start.
Where was everybody when they voted for Brexit? Where are they? Where were all these people?
They decided not to vote, or they just got beat, Popeye. What happens in an election? You know, some people get beat.
But Kev,
wait, you're telling me that there are people who are upset and sore losers that they lost in a vote? Wow.
That sounds vaguely familiar, Scott.
At least they aren't all wearing a million pussy hats. That's the one thing we can be grateful for. No pussy hats.
Look.
Joe Joseph has messed up the cameras on the stream, ladies and gentlemen. He will be back very shortly. Oh, there he is. Yeah, now we've all moved one position. Joe.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to mess up the positions and stuff, but I having an issue with audio, and now it sounds so much better.
Yeah, we can hear you better now, man. It doesn't look, it doesn't sound like you're coming to us from the 80s on a chronovisor, but it still looks like it. And of course, now his camera all flips out and see.
Joe Joseph himself right the hell out of here.
Scott Lopez, I blame you for this. Well, now we can hear ourselves. Oh, Joe.
Disconnect.
He needs to.
What happened?
He needs to recruit his hamsters again.
I know, man. I don't know what's going on.
But Natalie in the chat room says they're getting paid to demonstrate. No. This is what months of a media campaign designed to program the people into thinking that we should just stay in the EU does to people. They literally think the sky's going to fall. They think there's going to be no food on the shelves. Like I say, cows will stop producing milk. You know, water will stop being. Well, I was going to say good for you, but it's rarely good for you these days anyway, right? But no, this is what happens. And I'm not saying there isn't some paid protesters there, but you don't need it. Because people in the UK have been so programmed, you're either for it or against it. And of course, what's that do? Divide and conquer.
Of course, because it's either A or B. You can't have it. There's no nuance to any argument, Kev.
Yes.
There's no gray area. You don't look at the facts. Just be emotional and pick a side, damn it. That's how we run things. Logic out the fucking window. Seriously, that's where everybody's gone. Dude, you know how frustrating it is to see that after like all the years we spent waking people up, and then we all did shows trying to urge people to use their brains and to use logic, and then you see people literally falling right back into the tribalist, way of thinking of A versus B. It's a false idea of choice. It's an illusion of choice. You have to pick one or the other. We all know that's bullshit. You don't have to pick one or the other, but suddenly everybody's back into that because Orange Man good or Orange Man bad. And it's that simple. I mean, everything's been taken over by this very simple A versus B concept, right? You can't. we were joking about this before earlier, right? When we said that, kind of joking, when we said that they don't cover anything else other than, Orange Man good, Orange Man bad. Now that there's no collusion, you think they're going to talk about anything else? It's a distraction. The agenda is still happening, and yet no one's focused on that. How come nobody gives a shit about police brutality anymore, or the federalized police forces? Anyone? Bueller?
It's a good question.
Uh-oh. What's up with the...
It's okay. I'm just telling Joe he really ought to turn off that stupid software he's using because it's made a mess of his camera from start to finish.
Oh, man, it is. It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. Just a little
I'm
bit.
watching Joe, just go from... Look, wow, what's up with that?
Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna take care of it.
Joe, you're...
I'm going to go back to the...
Is that your reptilian?
It is.
Reptilian coming out on camera, Joe?
Now it's going to be all screwed up. I apologize. But,
honest to goodness, man. I'm working with amateurs. And Joe Joseph. Bloody hell, man.
Joseph.
And Joe Joseph. Yeah, here we go. Let's see how I was looking now. Oh, for goodness sake, man.
Where the hell what is that?
Fuck.
That's Popeye's microphone. This is ridiculous.
How is my microphone on your camera?
I don't know. This is
oh
really
dear Lord! I apologize to people out there.
That's proof that Joe works for the Illuminati somehow.
All right, hold on. I gotta restart here. So I'm gonna go restart, and then we'll
Illuminati confirmed.
Goodness grief, man! What an absolute douche. Can he be like the captain of the douche canoe for the show?
He managed to fold time and space and create a portal within the camera boxes.
Oh, folks, this is what I'm working with. Oh, here he comes again.
He is fuck.
All right, is that better?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, there we go.
There we go, man.
Can you not do that again, Joe?
Oh, now he's away again.
It's all Kev's fault.
Of course it is, Joe.
I still want to know how Popeye's microphone got on into my webcam.
Popeye wants to know how Popeye's microphone got on your fucking screen.
It's that pesky portal again. Jesus.
Because you're Illuminati confirmed, Joe.
It is. It's my Illuminati. Illuminati.
So
what fucking CERN in his basement.
So what did we find for tonight, Joe? You found a new propulsion system. We're going to space, right?
I did. I found a new propulsion system brought to you by the good folks at NASA. That's right. NASA.
Shilling for NASA. Yeah.
Here we go.
Right. Here we go. Shilling for NASA. Currently, NASA's working on an advanced propulsion engine that, if cracked, can elevate our space travel to the next level. For decades, spacecrafts have been stuck traveling at low chemical speeds, limiting our ability to research and explore space. However, now, thank you, NASA, at over 1 million miles per hour, we can now travel space by 2050, my friends. The NASA Institute for Advanced Concepts is funding not one, but two potential concepts. These new ion drives.
Hang on, Joe.
What's your take on the cloaked alien craft spotted over the United Arab Emirates?
Wait, stop.
In the news, we all living in an alien zoo.
Well, Bison, I've actually got the story up about the alien zoo. And while Joe's talking about this, I'll dig up the cloaked UFO over UAE.
Yeah, because I just want to know how somebody sees a cloaked vessel. If it's cloaked, how do you see it? I mean, that's just my first question. Anybody? Anyone? Bueller?
Oh, okay. Nice.
Now,
Joe's corner for the evening.
And let me, Joe, while we're here, right, let me point out, people can make me look utterly ridiculous like that. All you've got to do is go to the link in the description and you can throw me a couple of shekels and you can put a mask on me for 30 seconds.
I love
Kev,
good.
Kev,
Yes.
Are you now like selling yourself?
Totally is.
Pimping myself out, man.
Awesome. Kev Baker, ladies and gentlemen. Kev Baker.
So
red pill to pay the bills. Red pill.
These new ion drives. Come on, please. For the love of God. We're trying to be serious here.
I'm sorry. The wrong fucking show. You're like 2 fucking days behind. Isn't this supposed to be on the Friday thing you guys do?
Eat my ass.
Only if you wouldn't enjoy it, and I know you would.
Yes. These new ion drives being developed right now could have power levels that are 10,000 times higher. Antimatter propulsion and multi-megawatt ion drives. Damn. Current speeds of spacecrafts are quite low in space terms. Think about this. Voyager 1, 38,000 miles an hour. That is basically the fastest speed that I think we've hit with a spacecraft. Speeds achieved mostly by chemicals. Speed, chemicals. And
next question. I have to pause you for a second.
Yeah.
What's the max velocity? I mean, I know. I know that, like, I understand you can send unmanned vehicles fast.
Yeah.
But what happens if you put humans in a vehicle doing 1 million miles per hour?
It would all depend on the acceleration and the deceleration.
Yeah.
Is where your danger would come to a human
vehicle. So now you're part of it. So you're.
I'm thinking pale pink mist.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, you do have to take into account that, like, if you accelerate too quick, the stuff inside's going to turn into like goop.
Yeah.
So,
It's
you know,
true.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying we might, before we like leap and start running, maybe we have to learn to crawl.
That's why it's robots for me. Robots and AI, and potentially something to grow astronauts at the other end.
So listen to this. Actually, Juno, Helios 1, and Helios 2, those managed to reach speeds of around 150,000 miles per hour, but they were also using gravitational boosts. And then the Parker Solar Probe that is orbiting the sun is expected to reach 430,000 miles per hour using the sun's gravity. So that thing's going to be smoking, man. Now, gravitational boosts are the best way right now to achieve these higher speeds, but the method is also detrimental to the research and exploration because it takes a lot of time to do it. So the new method will use 50,000 ISP lithium-ion thrusters, and the first of which will be tested in 4 months. This is part of NASA's NIAC Phase 2 study to use laser beams, 10 megawatts of power into new ion drivers. Pretty damn cool. These laser beam-powered ion drives will be up to 10 times faster than any previous ion drive. I didn't even realize we had these ion drives.
Isn't that what the kind of Yuri Milner is using on the Starshot thing?
Yeah, and then according to this, the technology would make it so we could get to Pluto in less than a year, which is pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Jet Propulsion Lab is also building and ironing out the many components used in the system. The sail and the ion drives are finally coming together, they said. The hardest part's creating and sustaining the phased array lasers. So they fire a laser at this thing, it hits the sail, and it keeps accelerating. It's kind of weird, but then again, you know, what do you do? And then the other one is just, it's an antimatter.
How long would it take to get to Mars? How long would it take to get to Mars? What, a couple of weeks, something like that?
Yeah, probably like that, yeah. But
what
damn.
The hell movie was that where there was a spaceship like that they were in, and like, oh, what the hell? It was some science fiction flick, and it like had like big sails that came up and a laser shot into it and it energized the whole thing and the thing took off.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the movie that
pretty
is.
much. It's pretty much what that is.
But
I mean,
think
that's
about
what they're
it.
proposing.
10 megawatt. That's a hellacious laser, dude. You're talking about.
Be in front of that.
You'd
be in front of
think
that when
that
they
if the
fire it.
government had access to a 10 megawatt laser, they would have already turned it into a weapon.
No, that's true.
The Death Star.
Makes you think. That, you know, back in the 60s,
Yeah.
actually going back into the 50s, Lyndon Johnson, when he was in Congress, and actually I think he was a senator, but when before he was the president or the vice president, back in the 50s, he was talking about weaponizing the moon. They wanted to put nukes on the moon. So don't think once they have lasers that they're not going to want to put that shit on the moon.
As Buzzachino says, so now we can screw up other planets even quicker now.
Yeah, right. Again, the aliens are gonna be like, oh shit. They out lasers.
Imagine what the Martians feel like right now. Right. Imagine what they feel like over on flat Mars.
Those damn monkeys figured out how to flat Mars.
I wondered how long it would be. And there he goes. Flat Mars. Anything else flat out there, Joe?
The whole fucking solar system's flat. We're God's coaster set.
Just because we are.
Ridiculous.
Gravity doesn't exist, Kev. Stop it.
I know. I
could believe that perhaps
you do know that Kev has questions about gravity, though.
I believe that gravity, maybe it's not just from the Earth spinning like they surmised, right? That's what they knew back then. But perhaps maybe gravity is actually something to do with like the electric universe, you know?
Yeah.
And there's some sort of like electromagnetism that holds us to the planet. I have no problem believing that, but
all gravity is a word that describes an effect.
Exactly, Scott.
Gravity doesn't exist. That's a bold, stupid, like ignorant statement. That's just something used to create a divide and a very stark divide. So that way you have to choose one side or the other. Again, no nuance.
It's quite funny because
anyone that understands knows that. I mean, that's why I think that whole argument is part of the bigger psyop that is, flat Earth or the universe doesn't exist or everything else is. I mean, they project it onto the fucking dome from a big projector in the ice wall or whatever the fuck they use. Right? They can't get an IMAX film to work properly, but they're going to get that to work right.
It happens.
Sure.
No, I was watching a thing today. It's quite cool. On you go, Joe.
A broken clock is right twice a day. It just said a broken clock is right twice a day too. So I mean, they get lucky from time to time.
Right.
Just saying.
Sure.
No, Joe, there's no way you can measure the shape of the planet that you're going to get lucky one time and it's going to be flat. Just saying.
Oh, well.
But that gravity thing, I was watching a cool thing today, and it's like quantum gravity. And this is where you could actually find a bridge between the quantum world and the big stuff in the theory of relativity. So this is kind of cool stuff, and it's basically talking about how we're all made up of fields. And that explains the connection that we've got as well, because if we're all made up of the same fields, an electron field, a quark field, and everything else at that quantum level, that is entanglement. We would be all entangled. So it's quite cool, something I'm not really well versed on yet to sit and explain, but quantum gravity, something worth checking out.
On its face, it makes sense.
Buzzachino said, if I talk out of my ass, would it be called flatulence?
Wow.
I love the fucking wit of the listeners. You people are great. I love all of them.
Lovely.
Oh, craziness. But there was another question that came up in the chat, and I like this one. And it was to do with, let me pull it up here. Are we all living in an alien zoo? Popeye, this ties in with what we've spoke about before, where the aliens come here, they observe us and shit. And there's no real way for us to get out. Call it the Van Allen radiation belt, call it what you will. But are we basically here being observed by other species? Popeye first, then.
I'm willing to bet, yeah. I mean, we're intergalactically, we're like kindergarten. Seriously. I mean, they're like, whoa, don't get too close to Earth. They're kind of cute, but don't get too close to them because they're also really dangerous. And they respond uber violently to things that they don't understand or that they're afraid of. If I was an outside source, if I was an outside species and I was looking at planet Earth, and just picture you're monitoring us, right? From an outsider, an observer. That's a better word. The observer's perspective, right? Picture you're looking at us and you can see like all the violent shit we do to each other over a piece of sand or what we believe everybody, like religious wars, everybody agrees that there's a God, but nobody's version is correct. So they kill each other.
Bad.
Dude,
Yeah.
if I was an outside observer, I would be like, I don't want to get close to that fucked up planet.
No.
They kill each other, dude. Can you imagine what they're going to do to someone that they don't understand what it is? Or,
Oh my gosh, dude. Look at what we do. I know. We can't even get along with each other. Yeah,
right,
that's
so I have no problem believing at all.
I'm really concerned about how we interact with other species. And like you said, because, God, we have a way of screwing shit up. I'll tell you what. We really do. We really, truly do. And before we start trying to be good ambassadors to other races, we should try to be good ambassadors to each other first, I think. That's all I'm saying.
They're right. Like we have to stop arguing amongst ourselves before we start talking to aliens from other planets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, good idea.
We got to get our own shit together before we start talking to races from other.
We got a lot of shit to straighten out.
Yeah.
Why is it so convoluted? Why it shouldn't be this fucking hard. I mean, we're a species that thrives on interacting with each other. We really do.
That's
so
right.
Why is it so hard for us to do so? Unless there's people engineering the societal structure on purpose for a bigger gain. Be a conspiracy?
Say it isn't so.
Say it ain't so. We shouldn't be like this. I mean, really, it's 2019 and we have to have, arguments over race. By the way, racism did exist. Yes. And it was still around, but it wasn't as bad. The racial tension was nowhere near as bad as it is today. And do you know why? Because the media stoked the flames. That's why. Because everybody was starting to realize it didn't matter if you were black, white, purple, brown, yellow. Didn't matter. You could be purple with pink polka dots. And if you crossed the line and you pissed off the power structure, it didn't matter. Color meant nothing. Class, wealth even meant nothing. There were examples of the SWAT teaming of people with money and people that are poor. Middle class America started to realize that, there's a police state problem. There's a police brutality problem. Why are there so many armed police? Federalized police, is that a bad thing? Maybe we should start paying attention. And all of a sudden,
suburban and rural police departments were getting federal money and they were obtaining MRAPs, and their SWAT teams were strapping up like dudes in Fallujah. And people were like, what the hell is going on? This is fucking crazy,
Back, Scott, where the cops, you couldn't tell the difference between the cops or what looked like the army, and it was their SWAT team. And they were riding around. Joe and I did a show about this. Remember, Joe? They were riding around on the side of the Suburban, holding on the roof in Anaheim because there was protests because there was a guy that was shot. The cops killed somebody, and of course, it was a justified shooting. It's always justified, right? So it was a justified shooting. At least that's what the cops said. And there weren't riots. There were protests, and the cops showed up in force, looking like they were in Fallujah. Or going into like Sadr City to deal with the, Muqtada al-Sadr and his, Mahdi army. That's what it looked like. We're going into fight. And it was right here on the streets of America. And people started to pay attention to that. That's right around the time that they threw that flashbang into the window in Georgia. Yeah. And they landed in that baby's crib. And then the county had the balls to not even want to pay the hospital bills for the little baby. They refused to pay. The people had to sue them. And I don't even know if they got the money for it or not. Lord hope, I hope they did, because Jesus Christ.
Here in Kansas, they raided this family's house, SWAT team, all Fallujah'd up and everything, raided their house. It was the wrong house. They basically terrorized the family for 4 hours, searching through their house, tearing shit up, looking for weed. They were freaking out over some tea that was on the counter, like thinking it was weed or something.
Dangerous tea, Scott. Dangerous tea.
Yeah. I mean, they had guns drawn on them, everybody down on the ground, And finally, after 4 hours, they were like, "Oh shit, we raided the wrong house. This is not not good, And then, but they never paid the price for it. Nobody ever was held accountable for any of that, even though the family tried to sue and all of that. But yeah, I mean,
but it's all right, Scott, because we were listening to a podcast the other night where mass arrests are just around the corner. The deep state, they're all going to get rounded up and taken to Gitmo sometime really soon, right? And people don't need to worry about all the stuff that we're talking about here today. Just people don't have to worry about that because
those are the same people that they're actually championing the police state now, and
how do you get the people that were paying attention to the police state on board? You do Ferguson. So Ferguson was a real event. It's not a false flag. It was a real event, but they hijacked the narrative. They understood the opportunity. As Rahm Emanuel said, you never let a good crisis go to waste. And they took it, and the media manipulated it, and it went from a police brutality thing to a black versus white thing. And like that, exactly. They changed the narrative. And that, Ferguson, was the event.
It was a very subtle move. It was a very subtle move, but it was able to completely change. Yeah, it was a very subtle move, but it was able to completely change the narrative from police brutality into black versus white. White cop versus black person.
For a physical, visual, imagine we were on a train track and we're chugging along towards people actually seeing what's going on, starting to kind of wake up, put on the Hoffman sunglasses. Well, the way that they stopped that and socially engineered that was as the train's chugging along a mile up the road, just like you see in the old movies where they switch the train track over to another track, and nobody noticed. They had to do it just very slightly, and the train veered off just a little bit, but enough that they were able to literally completely change the message. They couldn't do it too hardcore, because you do too hardcore of a turn, everyone's going to notice, right? So you just do it ever so slightly, because remember, they understand the long game. So it's like looking down the barrel of a rifle or looking through a scope, and they can see the target ahead at a far distance. So they know they have to adjust the trajectory. That's what they did. They adjusted the trajectory. It's, again, going back to the Matrix reference, the construct itself, the architect of the construct is literally, it's taking into account what was happening at the time, and it modified the algorithms to adjust course to deal with it.
Yep.
That's what you saw happening. And that's why we're where we are now, instead of people being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't SWAT team little babies, or maybe we shouldn't be so proud to be living in a police state. Now you have people that, the very same people that were facing off against the federal government with rifles, remember the whole Bundy Ranch thing, right? The very same people that were like, pro Second Amendment, I love guns, I love freedom, come and take it, are now flying the thin blue line flag. Well, again, who do you think's going to come and take it? It's not going to be the UN. That's a red herring. They might bring UN troops in to back up later on or whatever, but that's a red herring. They're not going to bring the UN in. They're going to federalize the police forces. That's the idea. That's the plan.
Yeah.
And people are now all like, woohoo, raise the roof, raise the roof, bring me the police state. I feel safe now because everyone else around me has guns and I don't need mine anymore.
Trust the plan, Popeye. Just trust the plan.
That's one of the.
That's the official terminology.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the main things that was backdoored in through Trump. Was the whole police,
love the police,
whole police state thing. And remember, he always would like sign off his speeches like, "We're going to make America safe again,
safe again,"
and all that stuff. And the heavy support for the heavy support for the military and police, and to get everybody, worshiping the police state again. And
yes. That's how you get people to be back on board with it, dude. And that's how you get those free thinkers that, the Second Amendment lovers that were starting to think outside the box. That's how you get them to go right back in the box and be like, I love the police state. And then you hear people on the other side arguing, we should round them up. I love the Q people. We need to put them in FEMA camps. What? What? Are you hearing? Hey, are you listening to what you're saying? And some of these people that are saying this are the same people that were like, "Oh my God, the government has plans for martial law and to round people up." And years later, they're like, "We're with these fucking people in FEMA camps, man." And next week comes 70,000 indictments. No, it's not. Stop it.
All because of what? All because of the cult of personality. They all buy into it, and because that cult of personality is there, and they all buy. It's all the crowd, I'm a Trump supporter, therefore I have to love the police, even though last week you hated them because they were putting their hand up your ass.
Yeah, now TSA is cool, though. Now TSA is perfectly cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was the last time you saw, since Trump got elected, have you seen anybody get pissed off at TSA?
No.
Obama was the president. They were like, that motherfucker, he's making the police state. He's ramping that shit up. I hate Obama.
Now they're asking the question. Is it gay if I back up on that shit?
Man, now they're cool. They're like, hey, you want to go out for fries or a milkshake maybe after this?
Exactly.
Really? No, it's stupid, dude. I mean, all kidding aside, like, it's amazing how they socially engineered everybody to fall in love with the police.
Popeye, there is somebody right now in the intelligence community posting memes telling people telling people that the Dems, they're rewriting history. You can run, but you can't hide Q. You telling me that Q isn't real, Popeye? Yeah, you mean the intel community isn't sitting there picking which meme to post today? I can't go back to sleep yet, Popeye? Oh.
No. Q is not real. I hate to break the news to everybody, but I honestly don't think that I honestly think it's another psychological operation. It's a distraction.
Really?
People invest so much time into that. Again, the whole orange man good, orange man bad thing, that stems off of that. That keeps everybody busy. Is anybody paying attention to what's happened in the past 2 years? Does anybody actually know what's going on? How about our foreign policy? How much more debt have we gotten into? How much more military spending have we engaged in? But who gives a shit? Well, in 12 years, we're all going to die anyway, according to
That's
AFC.
right. We're all dying.
That world's going to end in 12 years. And Nancy Pelosi thinks we should have 16-year-olds vote, so that's good.
Kev, are you on board with the world ending in 12 years since your lovely AOC has proclaimed it truth?
Just because she proclaims something truth doesn't mean I have to jump on board with her. You might need to use the jaws of life to prize me off her if I was in a physical relationship, but that doesn't mean I hang off her every word.
Wow. I just posted something there for you. I guess Maxine Waters had a meltdown today over it, so I gave you the video, Kev.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay, man.
I hope so.
And she refuses to believe it. Basically, they're all like, "We're still going to investigate." So you're still going to waste fucking time, is what you're going to do. Good.
They're going to find something. By God, they don't care how they got to find it.
Here we go. We're going to listen to this. We're going to listen to it. She looks like something out of it. Is she CGI? Is she like CGI? Is she like one of these deep fake people?
I think she's 1024th James Brown.
Brilliant. Here we go.
Brilliant. Wow.
And you have Donald Trump supporters, including his former UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, out there tweeting and saying, essentially presuming that the president has been exonerated by the report, and in Nikki Haley's case, saying that it's been completed and everyone should just move on.
She's another all right politician, Nikki Haley. Just saying.
It's a curious position to take since we don't know what's in the report. But do you see colleagues on the other side of the aisle sort of declaring this whole thing at an end and wanting no further inquiry? I know that the House has something like 80 subpoenas still out.
Absolutely. Well, I want to tell you that this president
I want to tell you, I have a dream.
As a way of trying to get into people's heads and indoctrinate them. He's been saying no collusion, no collusion, no collusion.
Does she smoke like 80 a day or something, or is she like
she's doing a sex robot pose? Look at her.
Is she like swinging bigger junk than Popeye? She's got bigger junk than Popeye, dude.
There it is. Look at that.
Again for a long time now, and he's going to try and conclude that this report is proving that there's no collusion, and you have a lot
because that's kind of what it says.
Orange man bad. Orange man bad.
who will, take the nod from him, and they'll say the same thing. But we cannot allow them to get away with this. He does this all the time. This is not the end of anything. This is the...
No, I think you find it is. I think you really will find it is.
Wait, pretty sure. He called Robert Mueller and he was like, all right, release the report.
This is the end. Well, you know that Q is saying that this is proof that...
The report, so go ahead, release the report, Robert. And Robert was like, as long as Q said so.
Yeah, Mueller was always trusting the plan. This is the latest spin from Q. He was always part of the plan.
By Mueller, but those of us who chair these committees have a responsibility to continue with our oversight. There's so much that needs to be, taken a look at this point. And so it's not the end of everything.
Can I point out, no time there did I say that she's a good-looking politician? Oh, hell no.
What exactly is she referencing when she's like, there's a lot of things that need to be looked at?
Who gives a shit? Go look.
I agree. She's right. Like, how about how much money was spent and time and energy was wasted into keep pushing this bullshit narrative? I think all the politicians that pushed it, I think everybody that pushed it should be, maybe how about we bring you guys up on charges of collusion?
Exactly. I actually posted a Facebook post that said,
we got a super chat.
YouTube. Oh.
In Houston, the same thing happened. Vietnam vet protecting his house on a no-knock arrest warrant was killed by the cops and his girlfriend. The cop faked the info to get the warrant. Very sad.
It is sad. Those no-knock raids and all of that.
Yeah.
And you get the militarized police, and it's just a bad recipe. I mean, that's just a recipe for somebody getting hurt and somebody getting killed.
And all that came about from George Bush, number 2.
Yeah.
After 9/11.
Yeah.
He signed a whole bunch of executive orders. They changed. 9/11 was the linchpin because, like, the Project for New American Century, for those of you that don't know, this was a think tank, a think tank that included most of the people that would later, like a year and a half later, be in the Bush administration.
Yeah.
Rand Corporation. It came from the Rand Corporation.
It's just a coincidence. I'm sure this wasn't a conspiracy, but they put out a white paper and it was called Rebuilding America's Defenses. You can look it up. And they basically talk about turning the military from what it was into what we have now, the Roman Army 2.0, right? Let's go off on these expensive.
Which Tom Bolton is like, he's like one of the architects, him and Wolfowitz.
Well, Rumsfeld, Cheney, all of them, yes, Paul Wolfowitz. So and a lot of these guys, Jeb Bush, the president's brother, they were part of this think tank, right? Well, this think tank, and I keep doing air quotes because I want you to think tank, part of the problem, part of the conspiracy, how 9/11 happened perhaps, and you'll see why in a minute. Because in this paper, they said that they wanted to do all this sweeping change to the military for foreign policy and the way we interact and invasions and things like that. They also wanted to drastically change domestic policy here at home, right? They wanted to change the way that we did things with policing and, like you see now, SWAT teams all over and, MRAPs and all of this 20 years ago would have been looked at and people would have been like, what are you, crazy? We don't need any of that. So they wanted to do this, but they couldn't. And they understood that they couldn't do this. And if it was going to happen, it would have to be a very slow, gradual change, barring some sort of, and I quote, catalyzing and catastrophic event, such as a New Pearl Harbor type event.
Yeah.
What?
Nothing to see there.
Later, most of these guys happen to be in the Bush administration. I'm sure this is a coincidence, right? And 9/11 just happens to occur. And
what a coinkydink.
It's a coincidence, but George Bush on the evening of 9/11, he called it this generation's Pearl Harbor. I'm sure that's a coincidence. And I'm sure some people go, really, Popeye, you're reaching now. But
yeah, that's awesome.
I've spent years researching the subject of 9/11, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to wet your lips so that you go and seek more information and read and do the research and realize that this was all planned. They needed a precursor to, in order to bring about this police state. They needed a bad guy. They needed a boogeyman. They needed an event that'd be so catastrophic and catalyzing, again, their words, not mine, that you'd be able to change the way people think about domestic and foreign policy. Well, shit, if 9/11 didn't do that, then I don't know what did.
Yeah, but
now everybody's cool with the police state invading other countries.
You should look up Wesley Clark and the Wolfowitz Doctrine and the plan to invade 7 nations on YouTube, and he talks about it. You know,
yeah, there's a video where he, right after 9/11, he went to the Pentagon to visit a general friend of his, and the general friend was like, "Check this out," and he's like, "Why are we invading all these countries, or why are we drawing up plans to invade these countries?"
Popeye, think 50 years down the line, right, when they put together the dossier called A Project for a New American Dimension, and they need a Pearl Harbor on a galactic scale, and that'll give them all the reason they need to invade the 7 other planets in the solar system.
That's fantastic.
You know, don't as far fetched and science fiction jokey that sounds.
They're proving the concept.
Well, that's what'll happen if we, you know, I mean, if they'll continue to do the same thing. They've done it before.
Yeah.
The whole idea of them staging an event to pull off some shit that they want to do is nothing new. Okay. I mean, Kennedy vetoed that. He was like, wrong. We're not doing that. Okay. Yep. They wanted to Operation Northwoods. They wanted to run around Miami dressed as Cubans, shooting people, blowing things up. And then they wanted to, hold on, in the 60s, they wanted to hijack an airliner, land it at a secret military base, take the people off of it, have a secondary plane that they would remotely fly. I'm going to repeat that last sentence real quick because I know a lot of people don't want to, you know, believe that they could have remotely flown any planes into the World Trade Center. In the 60s,
no.
Operation Northwoods, part of the plan was to remotely fly a plane with nobody actually on board of it into, you know, over the ocean, blow it up. Oh my God, these poor people, they were killed by Cuban terrorists. We need to invade Cuba. They wanted to nuke Cuba, ladies and gentlemen. Curtis LeMay wanted to come in and nuke Cuba. They were trying to convince Kennedy, and Kennedy's like, no, this is one of the reasons he was killed. Because they wanted to engage in endless wars all over the country, all over the world, rather. And Kennedy was like, no, you people are fucking nuts. You got to stop. Like, seriously, what is wrong with you? And they were like, oh, we need to drop atomic weapons on Cuba. I don't know if you guys knew about Fallout, but we're only 90 fucking miles from Cuba. So that might be a bad idea. Just saying.
Unless they can control the weather. Oh, wait, they can.
Oh, wait. Oh, they can control the weather. By the way, before we get too far off, Kev, that link I sent you.
Yeah.
If you play it, it's like 4 minutes or 5 minutes. This guy in 1979 interviewed a bunch of people on the streets of New York about like the information age, and it's very telling. Like the responses of some of these people. This was 1979, and some of these people thought that we were too saturated with information already. And again, 1979.
Right.
But some of the thoughts
we'll try and play this. It says copyright David Hoffman. So
yeah, well, yeah, I don't want you to get copyright. Well,
you don't want to mess with that, dude.
No, we don't want to mess with that. And I'm getting feedback from somewhere, man. That's weird. But no, somebody said a galactic Pearl Harbor, Nibiru. Yeah, that's the kind of thing they could use to go invading other planets. You better believe it.
I've got that Wesley Clark clip.
Yes, man. Yeah, man. Get that up. It's always good.
Days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says there's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
There you have it.
Well, my. What do you know? Yeah, that's a classic.
Wow.
It truly is. It's a classic. And
wait. Did I hear Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Wait. Did I hear Venezuela? I just want to point out that.
Yeah.
I already knew that was on the list, but I'm being a little dramatic. The point is, yes,
They're gonna use Venezuela to get into Iran. They'll use Venezuela to get into Iran because
what's going on right now in Venezuela?
See, Iran's
aren't there
Iran's
problems
down
in
in Venezuela. Venezuela's in Iran. Cats are sleeping with dogs.
Cows aren't having milk anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
People, something about like government and chaos and blackouts and no food. Something going on in Venezuela. I'm sure the government of the United States has nothing to do with it. And I'm sure. Again, by the way, I'm not for Trump or against Trump because I understand the bigger picture, right? But the people that blindly support him are like, well, he has to do something to help out Venezuela. We should send troops in it. What?
Yeah, right.
Whoa. Go back and listen to what Wesley Clark just said. Do you not understand? This is a much larger agenda.
And by the way, Tom Bolton is his chief of staff. Yeah. Tom Bolton is his chief of staff, who just so happens to buy into this stuff. He's like one of the architects of this shit.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that people are focused right now on Orange Man good, Orange Man bad. So either you're for him or you're against him. And one is attacking and the other one feels that they have to defend. And there's so much of this that nobody's seeing the bigger picture that he's not really in charge. People, the president is a front man. He's there for you to get pissed off at and hurl insults at and take shit like from Maxine Waters and all these other idiots and take all the attention. Again, why do you think they're so focused on Trump? Because he's the lightning rod. And I'm not saying that everybody in the media is in on it. Compartmentalization. They might actually believe what they're doing is good. They need people like that. They actually need them to believe in what they're doing so it's believable to the general public. But if you step back to the bigger picture, they're running shit. They're controlling it. And it's all a show. The agenda carries on while you're mad at Trump and his fucking toupee and whether or not he hung out with the Russians. Guess what's still happening? The same shit that you might not have liked under Obama or the same things that you might not have liked under George W. Bush. But the agenda carries on. It's kind of weird, right? It's almost like there's a fucking conspiracy.
But if you want to go look, Popeye, at who is pushing the conspiracy, you need look no farther than the roster of the Council on Foreign Relations, who all get together, and in there's about 100 or so journalists. Most of them, the top journalists, the most popular journalists, the most seen journalists, and they get together with the Tom Boltons and the Wesley Clarks and all those other people that are also members of the CFR. And they come up with hey, Bob, well, it sure would be great if you can talk about this on Meet the Press this weekend, And they all collude with one another. That's what they do. And they orally copulate each other and many other things at their little Eyes Wide Shut parties. And after that, I mean, it's a whole slew of crazy shit.
What did Hillary? There's a video. I've got it up on one of my. I think it's Federal Jack Tube 6, or you can just go on YouTube and look it up. It's Hillary Clinton at the Council on Foreign Relations, and when she was still Secretary of State, And she admits she's speaking at the Council on Foreign Relations, and she's like, I'm so glad that there's an office right here in Washington, so I don't have that far to go to be told what to do.
Yep.
I mean, she says it.
Yep.
She says it. So like, oh, you're digging Popeye. No, she clearly states, speaking to the rest of the Council on Foreign Relations, that, hey, you guys really run things. Because that's the way it is. If you really think the American president is the most powerful person in the world,
it's Q.
Right.
It's Q, dude.
Right.
It's
Q. I have a bridge in Brooklyn that I can sell you, and Q is my real estate agent. He works for Flash.
Yeah, I think we need to propose a new theory. That way we can get like all the retards clumped together in one group, so we don't have to section them all out. I think we need to propose Q-shaped Earth theory.
Trust the plan.
Q-shaped Earth. I like it, dude. Does it have like an ice wall around the Q?
Yeah, how do you stop people from falling into the center of the Q?
Q-ravity.
How do you do that?
It's Q-ravity. That's what holds you to it. Yep.
Oh,
gravity. It's gravity.
Gravity, man. Yeah.
It's gravity.
Trust the plan, Popeye. But listen, another story that came up earlier, boys, before we forget, it was in a super chat, and Joe, you were having a bit of laugh with this. Got the video. You were asking, what does a cloaked spaceship look like? Well, let's take some of the mystery out of that for you. Or will we? So here we have it. It's the Daily Express. Surprise, surprise. Scott C. Waring. He came up in the conversation last night, right? We were having a laugh about him. Let's see what he's saying this time.
Oh, boy.
And, of course, there's no sound to it. So, yeah, we've got one of these, like, punch clouds.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can burn through water vapor with frequencies.
Yeah.
There's an interesting light hovering below it, but it doesn't.
Well, energy, I mean, you know what I mean.
I think that's added. I think that's a little
looks
CG.
added, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little embellished.
It looks a little embellished. Oh.
What is it?
It's just a punch cloud.
So we're not buying it?
Is this in relation to the UFO thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't think. How is it that, like, I don't know.
Unless let's go back to
was lucky enough to catch it with their phone. Oh, I caught the UFO. My camera has like an anti-cloaking filter on it.
There you go. That's it. An anti-cloaking filter. This is the problem.
It's
Snapchat.
Thank you, Snapchat. Like, Snapchat, we wouldn't have known UFOs existed. Awesome.
It's the same as the Nibiru filter.
We
also run a shooting video.
Yeah.
Stop shooting video vertically. Shoot it horizontally, people, please. Like flip the camera this way. So I'll use my phone as an example. Here's the phone, right? If you're shooting video, try not to shoot like this, because then it's up, down, it's vertical. If you shoot like this, sideways, whoa, landscape view, whoa, everything fits in, 1080 by 720 or whatever the fuck it is.
Don't you find it funny though how Nibiru only is filmed on iPhones and Android devices, as opposed to amateur astronomers that actually have fucking telescopes that are looking at the sky and they never see Nibiru.
Stop it!
Nothing to see there.
Stop it, Scott! Stop! Take your logic, Scott, and pack that and go home with it.
Here we go. Here's a second sun video here. I mean. Right, let's say for one moment, you caught that.
Try to explain it.
Remember, just imagine if you had caught that, and if this logically was a second sun, where did it go during the day? Or why did nobody else see it up there in the sky?
The other sun, because it's embarrassed about its weight.
Are you going to fat shame the sun?
It feels like it's getting fat, so it's afraid, so it hides behind the other sun at a much farther distance.
So do you think there's a Nibiru, though, despite the second sun videos that we're not going to buy into?
I believe in Quirth.
Yes. Quirth it is.
Quirth.
Thank you for the inspiration, Scott.
Oh, it's bad, though. We were watching something the other night on John B. Wells' channel, and it was like the latest decoding of QAnon. Scott, was this not like a modern day number station where people were getting programmed what to think? No opinion. It was just factual. This is what Q means. This is what you will say. Kill brackets on, kill brackets off.
Yeah, it was like when you tuned in, it was like this robotic breakdown of every Q post going on the. And I'm like, really? Wow. I mean, that is definitely some cult-like behavior going on there. If you're tuning in, watching that, they're like.
But we said it would have a violent end, and more now we're seeing violence from people who have followed Q. Just saying.
Dude, they want, like, the whole point is to create chaos and disorder. That's why they have it. First
Wasn't
of all,
that mafia guy that was killed? Wasn't he was killed by a Q dude? The mafia guy that was.
Yeah, but how do you? I don't know. I mean, why would some Q guy kill the mafia guy?
Because he was probably supplying children to the Democrats or the deep state.
Right.
You've got to think like a Q bot. Because he flew John Podesta to New Zealand. It was his plane that took him there.
Podesta was the guy. Well, I heard the guy was shot and then run over. So I think Podesta was actually driving the vehicle
before he went to New Zealand.
Well, he was flying his. They probably got picked up by the E4B and flown over to New Zealand.
Or maybe he's cloned. Maybe they just send him anywhere where something's going to happen, right? We just have to send a Podesta.
Yeah, I just anyone that even thinks that theory has any merit, think about this. Why would they clone him? Of everybody on the planet, of anyone,
Joe's face.
Why would they pick him? Just saying. And I don't think John Podesta has the energy levels to be involved in everything that there is.
I really don't think he's that important. I really don't think he's that important. Outside of the PG conspiracy, he really isn't that important.
No, and honestly, dude, that whole thing was blown up because, see, at that point, people were starting to pay attention to the real problem, which was these pedophile rings, and that there are people that are in high places of power and that are very well connected that suddenly seemed to be getting caught up in this, or that they were able to see that over the years, even going into the past, Jimmy Savile, suddenly it's out all over the place. He was such a child abusing piece of shit, right? The guy was an evil piece of shit, right? Like straight up, there's no sugarcoating it, right? The world is probably a much better place with his evil, dark energy not in it. All right. I don't know whatever dimension it went back to. Okay, that place became a little shittier when he arrived back in the other spot, wherever it is, right? Savile was an evil, dirty piece of shit. And he's not the only one. It's not. They see.
No.
So they're like, oh, it's all Jimmy Savile. Right. Blame the dead guy who can't defend himself, because he certainly can't throw any of you under the bus when half of you people reporting on it are involved in it. It was a huge thing. Kev, you did groundbreaking work on the subject.
You know who the
create
American Jimmy Savile was? Do you know Michael Jackson? He kind of was, if you take a look at it. Here you was he though procuring them for like high members of government and things? No. I'm just saying in relation to like the entertainment industry, because Jimmy Savile was like the Dick Clark of the UK.
What about Elvis? Did Elvis not marry a 15-year-old?
He did.
I'd say he's pretty big for them then. He's like the poster boy. Big time. But I'm saying that, all this stuff, dude, it's always going on. And I don't think you're ever going to stop it. I think the issue is you have people at the highest levels that are doing this. So there's no way. I mean, how do you stop it if everybody's involved that could possibly have anything to do with getting any sort of justice? And then it all just gets swept under the rug. I mean, what's the solution?
We were headed towards where everybody was starting to, more and more people, the wave was starting to form, Joe, and they understood this and they figured out how to hijack that energy being formed and use it for their own good. And then, the wave just kind of fell apart. and it changed direction. It didn't go where it was supposed to go because now everybody's arguing over orange man good, orange man bad. Oh, you're racist, you're sexist, you're this, you're that, you're this-ist or whatever. Everything's about labeling everything. The idea and the concept of labeling all of this is to help keep us break ourselves apart. And they're giving us the tools and they're giving us the emotional instability to do it. They're letting us tear ourselves apart and they're waiting because believe you me, they already have their plan sitting in a drawer.
Trust the plan.
The Patriot Act.
Trust the
plan. Patriot Act was written up before 9/11. It was sitting in a drawer collecting dust. They admitted it was sitting around waiting for something to happen. Oh, how fucking convenient that is. Okay. They've warned that there's an internet Patriot Act waiting for a cyber or internet 9/11. And you hear the warnings constantly about that. They're just waiting to crack down. Look
for the right time.
Now. Look what's going on now because some white supremacist asshole who wrote a manifesto. It doesn't have to be a false flag. It could be real. The guy wrote a manifesto saying, I want to create chaos and disorder and everything else. So instead of going and doing the opposite of what this sicko wanted, the media and the politicians are doing exactly what this guy wanted.
Yep.
Okay. And you could get into whether or not it was a false flag. It doesn't matter if it was a false flag. Okay. That would almost be a red herring in and of itself. The point is how they're reacting to it. And look what you see here in America. You see people being blamed here in America for what happened over there because the guy said it in his manifesto. The only thing I will give credit to, or I not so much the media, but more so a lot of the politicians over there, is that they're not saying the guy's name and they're not broadcasting it. And there's a lot of media companies that aren't using his name. And that's the smart way to handle this because the more you make it sexy to do acts, crazy acts like that and crazy things and kill people in mass, okay, the more it's going to happen. And they understand this. That's why they're told here in America, do not televise school shootings. They've been told by psychologists before, don't do it. Stop it. Stop glorifying it because you're setting up the next one in the news coverage of the current one. And they don't listen. They don't care because they understand to the media. If it bleeds, it leads. You know, there's people that buy into it. Again, compartmentalization. So they want to make money. They want to sell the advertisements. They want to do good at their job or whatever. But there's people higher up that control everything that understand that that's part of the social manipulation. Look, it's really simple. Ordo ab chao. They're creating the chaos, and they're going to wait until things are so crazy that people are screaming for order. And then they're going to come in with their agenda that they've had all along. Henry Kissinger at a Bilderberg meeting, and I think it was in Evian, France, if I remember, back in the 90s, okay? He talked about how if today the UN marched troops down the streets of Los Angeles to restore order, people would be up in arms. Tomorrow, they'll be screaming for it. Meaning, and not literally meaning the next day. Remember, these people think in terms of 30, 40, 50 years. They're engineer society so that people want that, you know, please come in, bring your SWAT teams. They really didn't like that people were standing up, like the whole Bundy Ranch thing, right? So what did they do? They knew that toe-to-toe with Americans in a gun battle, not a good idea. The outcome's very bad, and it's very distasteful, even to some of the federalized police officers that might have to shoot their own family members, right? So the plan, there's a lot of things that could make their plan fall apart. So what do? You get those people with the guns that were facing off to turn around and pretty much turn the guns on themselves. So now I'm holding the gun, but I'm looking at the barrel. And I'm about to shoot myself in the face with it. Why? Because that's what's going on now. And I'm not saying that we should be in armed conflict with the police or military. That's the whole point. They want that. But they understood that this was not going to work. So they get these people now on the same side. Now everybody's a happy little tribe. Yay, because my guy's in the White House. Another 4 years of Trump. Woo, hoo, hoo. Police state. Woo, hoo, hoo. That's what's going on. And the other side, you get the Democrats so pissed off at Trump and the Trump supporters, right? Or whatever. And when I say Democrats, I really don't believe the left-right paradigm. It's all bullshit. But That's what, the left, right? You get them so riled up that they're calling for people to be arrested, free speech to be shut down. I mean, wasn't the left the party of all about free speech and civil rights and truth? I remember when we first started talking about 9/11 truth back in the day, doing DVD giveaways, that most of the people that would come out and do street actions with us were left-leaning or with left-leaning activist groups. They weren't conservatives, because most of the conservatives called you a crazy liberal idiot, or whatever other, interesting slur they'd throw at you, because it was still very divided, right? Like it is now, but it's almost flip-flopped. And now all of a sudden, these people that I saw campaigning and championing free speech, we need to stand up to the government and the police state, are now calling for people to have their free speech restricted.
That's why it's so weird to me, dude, because it's so obvious that now you can see even more clearly how things are all orchestrated and it's all about division. Yet most people haven't seen it. They've been kind of duped into thinking, well, I have to take one side or the other. When in reality, it's all about taking a side. It's all the same, Scott.
Yeah, and another thing like I noticed is, we've seen this trend now of people calling every single thing a hoax or fake, and or that nobody died and all that stuff, and that's completely ridiculous. Actually, we're at a point now to where they've pushed it to where these things organically happen, and all they have to do is respond to it. So the false flag isn't really the event itself. The false flag is the reaction to the event. It's what the media pushes after the event. They've divided people so much, and they've got people so polarized on both sides that you are going to have crazy motherfuckers on each side do shit.
Yep.
Because they've social engineered people to that point.
And Scott, on top of that, right? Scott, on top of that, on top of that, Scott, think of how we were able to so easily identify crisis actors, and how some of these events were so obviously fake. It was almost weird that we were able to be allowed to see the evidence, but they wanted us to see the odd fake thing. And they wanted us to catch on to crisis actors, because now anytime anything happens, we do the job for them. A lot of people make themselves and all of us look ridiculous by always saying crisis actors, always saying everything's fake.
Exactly.
And that's exactly all they needed to do, Scott.
They gave us the tools, Kev.
Yep.
And they knew what was going to happen. Okay, so for a visual of that, they did the same thing with the music industry, with like Napster and all that, right? Like all these programs that were put out. Remember all the file sharing programs that were put out, and back in like the late 90s or
Napster and LimeWire
and all that. Well, all right, all of that stuff. They admitted, the music industry, like it came out years later, like they funded that. They funded those programs. They created the boogeyman because they understood that the future, remember, they look at future trends and all that. They understood that digital downloading, people weren't going to have to buy the whole album anymore. See, now it's cool because they have control over it. They make 99 cents a download. Back then, there weren't any really rules in place, and they understood that. So how do you get the rules into place? Well, they could lobby Congress, but then you might still have people that were hesitant. So the easier way to do it is to create the boogeyman and then go to Congress and say, we as a corporation need to be protected. And boom, they give them what they want. And they might use lobbyists and money and things behind the scenes, but they created the boogeyman. So they funded all those programs, put them out there, and then years later bitched that something had to be done. And that's what brought about a lot of the copyright protection laws, or the updates to them, and the way they work with the internet. And what
problem, reaction, solution, Popeye. You create the problem and you roll in like you're the big good guy.
Yes. Remember, they had to make examples. So they went after like a college kid for like downloading songs or something, and they were like going after him for hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was like $250,000.
There was a Minnesota mom that had to pay like $25 million or something like that. For all the songs.
Exactly. And it's ridiculous, dude. They created the monster first, and then once they have this boogeyman, then they can say, "Oh my God, we have to go after this boogeyman. Look, this big scary creature." They do it. It doesn't matter if it's on a vast grand scale like 9/11, and they don't have to. I'm not saying that, Al Qaeda is fake or anything. I mean, yeah, there are guys running around in ninja outfits, blowing shit up and doing stupid things.
In top of the range Humvees with air support from Blackhawks.
Right, but I mean, 19 guys in a cave orchestrating a surgical strike on a country and hitting 75% of their targets with military precision, using people that can't fly a Cessna, but suddenly the guy's flying a fucking Boeing like it's a biplane, doing curly cues over Washington, not getting shot down, flying right above the ground, right into the Pentagon, right into the only spot that was fortified and built to withstand a missile strike. And also the only spot that the people that were investigating the missing, $2.3 trillion, right? They all, Rumsfeld, I couldn't make this up. Rumsfeld had a meeting with these people. The day before September 11th, he came on TV and he's like, yeah, we're missing like 2.3 trillion right, with a fucking T. We're missing like 2.3
There was a change
trillion.
in the couch somewhere.
It's an accounting error. I dropped my wallet at the 7-Eleven and the 2.3 trillion was in there. Whoops. Right. In my Bitcoin wallet. Whoops. Oops. Right. So I couldn't make this up. So the investigators with this evidence were meeting with Rumsfeld on the morning of September 11th in the Pentagon. Do you know where they happen to be meeting with him? In the very area where Hani Hanyour just happened to do this corkscrew turn and fly this Boeing into the side of the fucking building, which, by the way, where are the wing marks in the Pentagon? Where were the wing marks? Oh, they were there.
Don't worry about that, Popeye. Don't worry about that, man.
Right, where's the plane? Where's the engine debris? Because those Rolls-Royce engines are made out of titanium.
That one frame of CCTV footage, it captured it all, Popeye. That one frame, it was glorious. It proved everything. It proved the official narrative, dude. Come on, man.
Well, thank God for Gordon Duff for
and this
on top of releasing that.
We couldn't have done it without the good folks at NIST. Very much.
Yeah. Yeah, NIST. Them. By the way, the same group of individuals that they didn't have an answer to what happened with Building 7 because no plane hit that building, but it collapsed into its own footprint.
And the BBC knew about it beforehand.
So just Jane Stanley. She's like, the Solomon Brothers building has collapsed, and it's right here behind her. Like right here, and she's like, the Solomon Brothers building has collapsed, and it's like, Jane, not yet. You're 2 minutes off, Jane. That stupid time change.
Well, I can definitely guarantee this stream's going to be shadow banned by the end of it. Nobody's going to find this conversation anywhere.
But no, I'm pretty sure we triggered a few alarms somewhere at YouTube.
Just a few algorithms.
You could, if you really want to, for the people that don't know a lot about 9/11, please, I urge you, take the time to go read. You could listen to shows that we've all done about it, and that's cool. You can go listen to Kev's shows if he's, anything he's done about 9/11.
Nauseum.
Done shows. I know Scott's done shows. I've done tons of shows. Go ahead and listen to all of our stuff on 9/11, please, because there's tons of evidence there. But I urge you to read. And a few of the books that I urge you to read are written by David Ray Griffin. Okay, he's written a plethora of books on the subject of 9/11. One of the best, in my opinion, is a book called Debunking 9/11 Debunking. And the first couple chapters are a little dry because it's all FAA stuff, and he discusses FAA regulation and protocol, but it's important because you'll find out how hard that they actually violated their own protocols, the FAA, on the morning of 9/11.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the air traffic controllers. I'm talking about like their boss who took
I don't know so much about that book.
Up and
not
ran
when you've got Dr. Judy Wood that can really slam it home for you.
No, don't listen to her because then she's one of those people, dude, that I honestly believe is put out there or funded, even if she believes her own whatever. She doesn't have to be in on it. She could believe, again, compartmentalization. But I believe that she's put out there and funded because then people will go, oh, you think fucking space lasers took down the Twin Towers? No, they don't need space lasers. They have enough conventional explosives that they can do it. Mm-hmm. What I think is interesting is things like William Rodriguez.
What if they use space lasers to light the fuses?
Yeah, they could have used lasers to light the fuses, Joe. Or they could have just, I don't know, remotely detonated the shit You know,
I mean, there's no fun in that.
There's Larry Silverstein that said, well, we decided the best thing to do was just pull it in regards to Building 7. Wait. Pull it is a term that means controlled demolition. And since when does
or yanking your chain?
Well, since when does the FDNY when was it in the business of pulling buildings and blowing? But well, it's not. That's
right.
Controlled Demolition Inc. and companies like that, you know,
which just doesn't happen at the drop of a hat. You know, it's not like fire departments are like, ooh, this building is it's unsafe, guys. Let's pull the building. They don't just do that. It has to be it takes time.
Talking about that was part of my training when I went to the fire academy. Like week 2, it was controlled demolition, how to bring down a building in like 30 seconds or less.
Right. What?
You know, because I know, dude, it's stupid. But see,
we made the decision to pull it.
Yeah, Larry.
Really?
Yeah, and then he files an insurance claim. He filed 2 separate claims because there were 2 buildings. Wow.
And he won.
They
actually gave him more.
They
gave him more than what he asked for.
I know. Well, because, you know, tier, because, you know, what he did was he played on, you know, the emotion of that. The guy's a scumbag too. All right. Really. How did he know? He used to eat breakfast at Windows of the World, which was the restaurant up at the top of the World Trade Center, every morning, except that morning he had like a dentist appointment, so he wasn't there that day. Oh, that's convenient. And who called Willie Brown and told Willie Brown not to fly that day? Wonder who called him and said, "Hey, don't get on an airplane." Must be good to be connected. And
Q done it. It was Q, dude. It was Q before he came out of the shadows. Just when he was.
No, it wasn't. It was P. Because Q wasn't there yet. It was P. It was a letter before Q.
Was it definitely P? Well, you know, wait a minute. Before I forget, you know, somebody else who speaks a lot about 9/11 and Popeye. I know you'll have learned a lot from this gentleman. And he just happens to be coming on the Kev Baker show. David Icke on the 8th of April, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. So mark your calendars. The big man finally coming on KBS. So absolutely, yes.
Good job, Kev.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd ever get him, Popeye. It's like the unicorn. I captured a unicorn, man.
I know he's tough to get in touch with. But Ike's. People can say what they want about him and the information he's put out and stuff, and they make fun of him because of the lizard thing and everything else. How do we know? Again, Ike didn't sit in like his house one day and be like, "I'm going to tell people lizard people exist." No, he just presented information from all these ancient cultures, including the Zulus, like Credo Mutwa and other cultures. Did he tell Cecil Rhodes to have Cecil Rhodes buried in the mountains in Africa? You know, no, it's not him, dude. He didn't come up with that idea. He's presenting the information. You can laugh at him all you want, but the guy's been around for years. And his message has pretty much stayed the same. And he hasn't veered off the information.
That's what, I went to see him recently, and people still think he's the lizard guy. And yet there was maybe one slide with a reptilian in it. And it's because he's breaking down the bullshit, all the agendas that are running in the world today, showing how they're all programs in this mad thing we call reality. And that's why he's dangerous. If he was just talking about the Chattahoochee and things like that, I bet they wouldn't ban him from Australia then. They would just call him the crazy lizard guy, right? But now they don't know how to deal with him, so they just blanket ban him from countries. You're not coming here. But he's coming to the Kev Baker show. So just so you know.
Because he's pointing out the algorithms. He's pointing out the programs in the Matrix that are purposely there to distract you and divide you. And people, you can't have that. And the reason why they ban him is because Ike has a huge following, and his name itself will draw a huge crowd. And they fear. That's how much they fear people hearing the truth, that they'll ban the guy telling the truth rather than allow people to hear the information.
Yeah.
Joe's back. I think he's shot. Oh, is he there? Is Joe there?
I'm here and I'm not at the same time.
Joe, you are broadcasting live from the Tramp's Pocket tonight.
I'm telling you, bro, it's crazy how
Schrodinger Joe.
I mean, I can hardly hear you, so I'm just kind of sitting in the background.
Schrodinger's host.
Schrodinger's Joe. But Joe, Joe, you did find a story, man. You found us a story. You did. What's happening here, dude?
Apparently there's a woman out there.
Whoa!
Did you see that?
Dang.
Yeah, she won child support for her 52-year-old daughter. I mean, it's crazy. Finally, she gets her ex-husband to pay nearly 50 years after the divorce. How crazy is that? It says here, a North San Diego woman was awarded child support from her ex-husband nearly 50 years after she says he left her with a young daughter. Tony Anderson made no apologies for going after the man she calls her deadbeat ex some 50 years later. And Anderson says her ex-husband chose to go to Canada rather than pay court-ordered child support in the early 70s. So she says, I kind of put it on the back burner and forgot about it over the years. But
how'd you do?
Yeah, you know, you got to figure this is kind of crazy. But she says, I'm not negating the fact I was able to send my daughter to college, Paris. We traveled and had a good time. She said, but the money runs out. Anderson admits she rents her part of the house. And now that she's retired, money's tight. And then it dawned on her. She says, man, I realized in the middle of the night one night last year, hey, there's no statute of limitations on child support. That's a crafty woman right there, isn't it? And she says, wow, she looked up some old court papers and last month notified her ex-husband, who's now living in Oregon. She wants him to pay up. But the amount she was seeking now was way beyond what he was asked to pay nearly a half century ago. So he was only supposed to give her like $160 a month, and that was $50. But today, with interest at 10% a year, the total payment of some $30,000 is now $170,000.
Whoa, shit, man.
Yeah. So now they're having the husband settled out of court, ex-husband, $150,000. $150,000 she's getting. Look at that. For her 52-year-old.
Was it like one of these testicle-fearing female judges that was in charge of this case?
You know, they don't really get into detail because, I mean, you don't hear this too often.
Scotty, you're muted up, man. Scotty's muted up. I can see the lips are moving, but nobody's talking. No, still nothing from Scott. Scott's been Skyped. Oh no, he's in the pocket. See? Look at that face. That's the face of somebody in the pocket.
We're all being Skyped.
Come on, Scott. Try and speak to us, man. Is there anybody there? Come on, we'll get the Ouija board going. Come on, Scott.
He's got nothing.
No. Dang. Nope. Nothing, man. Whoa. Look at Popeye sitting there all important.
I got another one. So, in South Carolina, guys. South Carolina.
Isn't that like close to where you used to live?
Yeah, it's a state down. But anyway.
So we've lost Scott periodically, and now we can see up Joe's nostril. Absolutely fantastic.
How did that happen? What are you doing?
That's because Scott dropped out the conversation. See, now we're all going to move one position. Everyone moves on the camera. Oh, this is so weird. Scott, are you there, Scott? Big Scott.
Anyway, there was a school bus driver who, while avoiding a squirrel, crashed into somebody's house. So was it worth it? That's the question. So
look at Popeye's face.
Because Joe, that little squirrel could have gotten run over, and I'm glad that the guy didn't just hit the brakes. I'm glad he decided to veer and drive into someone's house.
Yeah, it says a group of high school students went on a, quote, little different school bus ride, I guess.
Hang on, Joe. Can we hear you, Scott? Try again, Scotty. No, he's gone again, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, bro, there's some crazy stuff going on. Why? It's Q.
Do you think it is Q? Do you think it's because we spoke about Q in a bad tongue?
Yeah, and now the NSA is starting to mess with our internet because
where is he popular? 8chan or wherever, or QChan or whatever the fuck it's called.
QChan.
There's probably like a post on there right now. My God, they're dissing Q.
That's right. So we're being false flagged right now.
Q Earth, and they called it Quirth.
Quirth.
and we're being false flagged. It's a definite false flag, right?
Illuminati.
I mean, just like New Zealand, false flag.
It's the Q Illuminati.
What else is false flag?
Anything,
Everything.
Joe. Anything the mainstream media talks about, they always lie. So it's got to be a lie. That's the basic.
You realize that the whole that being over popularized, that term is done on purpose too. I mean, obviously,
of course it is.
Because
and we're back up Joe's nostril.
Nope, Joe's nostril, ladies and gentlemen. That's where the real conspiracy is.
Look at me. Would you stop doing this to me? I thought we had to think about this. Don't make me put the filters. I will put the filters back on, mister.
Oh, Q keeps on messing with our stream, folks.
Exists inside Joe's nostril on a quantum level.
You can't see the fact that Q is controlling me from the inside.
This is how I know what Q's going to say. I sit and read Joe's nostril.
That's right.
Kev just looks up at it and he's like, hold on, wait a second.
So, hey, listen to this.
70,000 arrests coming in 2 weeks. I see it.
So 6 Spartanburg High School students were on their way to class. Bus driver swerves off the road, smacking the bus into a tree as it ran through a yard and bumped into the house. So what the South Carolina State Police said was, unfortunately, she overcorrected and lost control of the bus. I'd say she overcorrected. Is that what you call it?
Why didn't she just slow down? First of all, I understand that shit could run out in front of you, but as a bus driver, aren't you supposed to be driving slow enough because you have children in the bus?
Exactly.
And none of them. Can I ask a better question? Why is it if you have your kids in your back seat and they don't have a seatbelt on, you'll get a ticket and read the riot act by a cop, right?
Yeah.
But a bus with 50 kids on it, not one of them needs to have a seatbelt even installed on the bus benches.
Right, boys, hang on. Scott, yeah, we got you, Scott. Come on, Scott.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Oh, wow. I just had catastrophic Skype and then computer failure.
It was Q.
And then
Q called
and
the NSA went and hacked your computer, and then they false flagged all this.
That's what happens because you live on Quirth.
But boys, we need to be pretty careful here because Popeye inadvertently trained one of the Q pushers. Yes.
Oh, no!
Popeye.
Easy. Conspiracy's ready. What do you mean, Popeye? No.
Yeah.
Popeye trained a lot of people how to do radio. Okay?
Come on, Popeye.
Because I was kind of militant about sound quality and everybody like being able to get past technical difficulty bullshit so that they can get their important message out. There are a few people in the alternative media that back in the day went through Popeye's radio boot camp. And unfortunately, some of them, they go, look, everyone goes on their own path. Some of them partake in things I don't agree with. So there's your inadvertent training. Man, I got some Q for you. Here, I got some Q.
That's why Popeye disappeared. He was a Q handler.
He's a Q handler.
Yeah, I was. Oh shit!
People in the chat room are thinking, "Who did Popeye train?" We'll just leave the mystery until next week.
That's it. It'll pop up on 8chan and 16chan and shit.
It'll be on Quirth.net.
I'll have unleashed Unirock. He'll be just he'll want to know who it is, man.
Quirth book.
That's awesome.
It's the social media network of Q Earth. Is Quirth book.
Quirth book. Yeah, and make sure that you put Unirock in touch with Popeye so we could have our full expose.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I have anything to do with Q. It's the 70,000.
We'll launch the Moab, the mother of all beans.
Hey, listen to this. Because I have nothing to do with Q as he's got NASA behind him, right? Yeah, that's real good.
Hold on, Joe. I fucking caught that cat.
You like that one, Popeye? See, that was good. People are rewinding right now. They're like, what did Kev say?
What did he say?
What did he say? Yeah. Right. I can see the post tomorrow. Popeye, formerly of federaljack.com, is down the rabbit hole. Oh my God, he's Q. He's Q.
Q confirmed.
Cuminati confirmed.
Cuminati, I like that.
Cuminati, the Cuminati here on Quirth. We take accusations against Q very seriously.
Oh, it's so ridiculous. It's funny.
One of those 70,000. You want to be 70,001 on the indictment list, buddy?
Hey, come on. If David Wilcox says the blue chickens are real and mass arrests are coming, who the fuck am I to argue, dude? Who the fuck am I? Know what I mean? I will say, though, that my one secret space whistleblower, Captain K, his story still holds true to this day.
And how do you know that?
Because it was on the History Channel just the other day. And you know what I like about Captain K? His story has never been elaborated on.
And
there's never been an
did he
extra
go?
chapter. Well, that's it. He just came and told his story and he went. He left. His story's his story.
He went back to Mars, apparently.
You would think, right, if you have one of these stories, you get it all out there, right? You don't remember a really interesting chapter 6 months down the line where, all of a sudden you remember doing something. You get it all out there, right? And that's what Captain K done. He got it out there. He went on a mission to the moon. He went to Mars. He went away for 20 years. He came back 5 minutes later. Bada bing, bada boom. Time travel in the room. Secret space out the way.
And you think that people would want to talk to the guy, maybe, I don't know, debrief him, perhaps a little bit, talk about time travel. No, it's cool. He's gone. He left. It's fine.
Mic drop out of there, dude.
Yeah, mic drop. Yo, I'm from the future, yo, and you fuck things up on planet Earth. Mic drop.
You guys are quad
on Quirth.
Yeah, you fucked up Quirth.
Somebody called us the quad militia. I like that. No,
Someone
quad
called us
milati.
what?
Quad milati. I can't even pronounce that word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Quev Baker Show.
I like that. I like that.
The Quiminati, I guess, is how you would say it.
See, we need you here, Scott. Add some perspective to all of this.
Oh my God.
Wow.
The
Her
Kev
lips
Baker
and
Show
cheese
spelled with a
Captain
Q.
K once. That's funny.
Somebody smoked
Spain?
Captain K?
Yeah, it's either
But like
It's
they
either-
smoked him or they smoked him?
that's what I mean. I know.
Yeah, when I hear smoked, I think.
I know.
Joe,
I know what
Joe
you're
thinks
thinking.
of his robotic face at the start of the show. Come on, Joe. Give us the sex robot. Do the sex robot, Joe. Come on, Joe.
Just like, hey, Paul Smoker.
Hey, Paul Smoker.
Talking of sex robots. Here we go. We have a sex robot update. Harmony, you know, the one with the Scottish accent, she now has vaginal sensors upgraded, unveiled in a Q Earth book live launch. Yeah.
Workbook.
Oh, yes.
Isn't this the sex robot that was Scottish?
Yeah.
I thought a Scottish sex robot would be like a goat with rubber boots on.
We've had them for years, dude.
Rubber boots.
Fuck off.
Fucking galoshes. Really?
I was going to play this clip for you, but if you're just going to be disrespectful to my national fucking play toy.
I would say so.
Fuck's sake, boys. Come on. Jesus wept, man. They say if Brexit doesn't go through, sheep will reject men everywhere. I just can't be having that. Turn the vote around immediately. Here we go. We'll have a listen to what poor Popeye, look at him.
In the foothills of San Diego County, down a hall, inside a door.
Inside a door? Yeah, most fucking things take place inside a door, you genius.
Right.
Cast your eyes on the future.
Hello, San Francisco Bay Area. My name is Harmony.
You lock eyes with these dolls.
You don't lock eyes with a doll, you absolute
Lock
freak.
eyes with the doll.
No.
And you see it's like robotic eyes twitching all fucking maniacally.
It's
and shit. How do
glitching
you lock eyes with
like
something
Joe's
that?
camera. I'm telling you, dude, it's glitching.
Henry and Solana.
I am Sulana. I am just a few years old in human years.
Whoa, did you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not catering to sickos.
Here we go.
3 hyper-realistic, anatomically correct, life-sized sex robots.
Mannequins in a shop are anatomically fucking correct. It doesn't mean you're going to take one to bed with you.
A robot that looks like a person and that you can talk to.
The face of a man who has been waiting all his life for a sex robot.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That can be a companion.
Each one is powered with artificial intelligence as well as a mysterious X mode.
My X mode will allow me to fulfill your wildest sexual fantasies.
You're a robot. You'll do whatever the hell I tell you to. What the hell?
These sex bots are made by Realbotics. Realbotics is a collaborative effort that involves 3 companies, including California's Real Doll.
We make the finest dolls on the planet.
At Real Doll, Matt
Did you see that there? He's a Q confirmed. Look, Q.
Look at that. It's a Q.
Real Doll, Matt McMullen and his team create high-end, fully customizable love dolls with silicone skin, hand-painted eyes, and incredible detail. Stormy Daniels has even licensed her face and body.
I bet there's a Russian sex bot in there that he can collude with.
Now they're adding AI and robotics to their stable.
The inspiration for integrating AI and robotics was always in the back of my mind. I mean,
Told
when I
you.
made the initial doll, I immediately thought how amazing it would be if it could move. And
See? That's been his lifelong dream, boys, to create a potential wife.
He's like, I've always thought about how amazing it would be. Oh, yes. Now I finally have achieved it.
This guy watched Austin Powers while making Scott's voice in the background because Scott, you sounded like what was that? What was that thing? Golem from fucking Lord of the Precious. Right? So
my precious.
Yeah, he's like my precious. He's like touching the robot. Right, it's my precious.
Exactly.
I'm gonna make you a sex robot. I couldn't relate to any human women. So I'm going to make one I can relate to. Yeah, and then he like probably rubbed one out watching Austin Powers, right? And thinks that that's a great fucking idea. This is just you find someone that's highly intelligent and you manipulate them with whatever it is. His is, the guy's probably into anime or whatever, and they use that whatever he's into to help him push that agenda. Like you're a sex robot, suddenly you're getting into AI. Why do you need that? Oh, so we can make the robot more lifelike when you fuck it. Right. Because nowhere in any science fiction novel has this ever turned out bad, right?
Never.
Because robots ever get pissed off about us making them to treat them like total shit, right? And then
wasn't there an episode of Star Trek on this? Wasn't Harry Mudd? Remember the Harry Mudd episode where he had a planet full of sex robots? Yeah.
Well, but
bad
why
things
do we
happen.
need sex robots? Why do we have women and men? They're supposed to, copulate.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to, whatever. I mean, if some people are into, different things, that's fine. My point is, we have real live people. Why do we need a fucking robot? Why? Because people are that disconnected. That's why.
Yeah.
Because people are that disconnected and divided.
Because
So now they're gonna make
relationships,
robots.
think about it, because relationships take work, right? They take work. You have to kind of put some effort in to understand your partner. With that, look at that. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous.
Owning a sex robot takes work too.
Yeah, just a lot of manual labor.
You have to clean it, right?
Yeah. Oh my God!
Look at the shock on that one's face. She wants to escape. Look, help!
Even the robot is like, "Get me the fuck out of here!
Get me out of here!"
This guy makes me do creepy shit.
Yeah. And they're proud, by the way. Do you notice that? Everybody's like, "Yay, look at me!"
The robot saying, "In human years, I'm like 3."
Look at this guy.
Why is that necessary for the robot to tell you how old it is in human years? Why, if they're going to make you a robot that looks like it's in its 20s, why wouldn't you just assume that, like, I mean, not that it even needs an age, but why wouldn't the assumption just be there that that's like the age that they're going for? Why does the robot actually have to tell you, I'm only 3 in human years?
Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Give her bigger bajumbas. Look, I want them bigger. Look.
This is so unbelievable, you know, and that's
and then
the problem.
You get into the dangerous side of it.
But everything is a shortcut. Everything's a shortcut right now in life. Everything's a short. Everybody takes the easy way, easy way, easy way, easy way, and this is what you get. You know,
well, they can sell you. They can sell you the idea of the robot and the AI and all.
Is that
of that
the inside of that thing?
Yeah, that's literally where you're sticking your junk, guys. If you're considering
it looks
this,
like it's like you're.
It looks like a dinosaur.
A cheese grater.
It looks like something that should be hanging from the National Museum under the prehistoric section.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Nope.
I'll stick with the human. Human option.
Another doll that's got that look on her face as if to say, "Help me."
Joseph works for me. There's no sex robots in my future.
Scroll back up, Kev. Scroll back. Look at the look in her eye.
Which one?
Help!
Is like, help me, get me out of here. It's a creepy.
Look at him. Look at him.
He's everywhere. This dude. He's got a few select. In fact, I think that's even him when he's younger.
I really have no faith in humanity.
Did you guys see the story where they're concerned about sex robots being hacked so that they can kill their owners? I dropped the story there.
I'll bring it up, Scott. I'll get it right now, man. I'll bring it up for everyone.
Well, I mean, you know, because hey, robot revolution, that never has been ever written about.
No,
ever.
Never.
There's no like sci-fi movies about robots getting pissed off and revolting and like out humanity, right? You know.
Never once. Oh, let's see. Apparently, Mrs. Joseph has been listening. Yeah.
Go watch the short animated video series, The Animatrix, and it's
like an uber creepy, weird science sequel. It truly is.
Yeah. Sex robots could be hijacked by hackers,
and it shows you how like the robots were tired of being treated. You know, people were using them as sex robots. They were using them to like build everything, and they were getting mistreated. And you know, like really, like why do we need to bring Terminator to reality? Why?
Because it's a good idea, Popeye. It's a good idea. It really is. But you know, I've heard of weaponizing sex, but this takes it to a new level. Says here, sex robots could be hijacked by hackers and used to cause harm or even kill people. A cybersecurity expert has warned. AI researchers have consistently warned of the security risks posed by internet-connected robots, with hundreds recently calling on governments to ban weaponized robots. The latest warning comes from an expert who made this prophecy to to several UK papers. Quote, hackers can hack into a robot or a robotic device and have full control of the connections, the arms, the legs, and other attached tools, like in some cases knives or welding devices. Don't get the welding gun out when we're getting our kind of rocks off. Yeah. And this is from Nicholas Patterson. He also says, often these robots can be upwards of 200 pounds and very strong. So you're talking about man shell, like a big Amazonian man. And once a robot is hacked, the hacker has full control and can issue instructions to the robot. The last thing you want is for a hacker to have control over one of these robots. Once hacked, they could absolutely be used to perform physical actions for an advantageous scenario or to cause damage.
No, I'm not worried about a hacker. I'm worried about artificial intelligence eventually becoming self-aware and
remembering.
It's already going to be in the computer system, right? So it'll be the ultimate hacker, just like you see in like science fiction movies, or if you read in books, they can go much quicker than any programmer or operator could. That's the kind of shit you got to worry about. But no, let's keep making AI. I mean, even Stephen Hawking and all these other people who even Bill Gates.
Hawking was a NASA shill, Popeye. Hawking was a shill. He was a shill for NASA and the establishment.
Right, but what did he say? He even was like, artificial intelligence, we shouldn't really be making weaponized robots. A lot of these guys, even the people that were like, they're paid, you could
Look
say
at Elon Musk.
They even,
Elon Musk is
there's a lot of smart people, whether they're shills or not, are like, look, this is kind of a bad idea.
Yeah.
They ran it to its logical conclusion, and they understood and understand what is happening or what could happen in the future. But you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. Joe, a couple weeks ago, you were talking about, on one of the shows we did, right? One of the Sundays we were on here, we were talking about the swarm technology. If you go back to like my second or third year on air, I did a show when we were at Orion, and I aired audio from the CBC, which got me in trouble. Okay. It got one of my YouTube channels suspended for a while, and it was an hour-long CBC broadcast where they were talking about technology and the future technology with drones and everything else. And this was years ago. And they interviewed an Air Force colonel who was talking about they're working on swarm technology that they can fly over a city with a C-130, open up the back, and drop like 50,000 of these micro robots, like a swarm of bees, out. And they'll fly around and they can track people. They want to be able to weaponize them. And it sounded crazy. And, this was like probably good 6 years, maybe 8 years ago now that I aired this audio. And it sounded crazy back then. Now, fast forward, and they're openly talking about swarm technology. So I bring that up because if you hear something being talked about today, and this is to the listener or the viewer, if you hear something that sounds scientifically crazy, like we're talking about killer robots and we're talking about how they want to train robots, and they are. Okay, Atlas, they're training the thing to do parkour. They're training robots how to shoot, right? This is a really bad idea. Simple concepts I think we can all understand, right? Science fiction isn't just about entertainment. A lot of these writers were trying to use their intelligence and their forethought to warn us of things that they saw for whatever reason, whether they were sitting down smoking a joint and they thought about it, or they were tripping on, a hallucinogenic substance. It doesn't matter. Some of them did. Philip K. Dick, for instance. But the guy was still also...
Philip K. Dick lives. Remember we covered that? He was side-loaded. Right. Yeah, side-loaded, Yeah. He lives on. But I think before we go, because we're going to wrap it up soon, I think when we're talking about what we're creating here, I think we have to listen to Geordie Rose, because he's the dude creating it all, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And he says it best. And I'll just start it from roundabout here. And of course, don't forget, this is the talk where he has, we'll just show it here. There it is, D-Wave and the Quantum Key to the Abyss. That was a Freaky Friday show. So this is this one video. So if we come to about here.
Beware, because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want.
Yeah, that's what we're summoning. And bear in mind, he's the dude that built the machine that's summoning them. And he talks about he's got a company called Kindred Spirits Summoning. This is where it starts to go beyond science and into the magical woo.
It's just nuts.
Isn't it?
But see, science and
magic.
I'm going to say religion / the occult. And some people are going to get pissed off that I maybe put those two words together, but occult simply means hidden. So religion and hidden unknown mysteries, hidden mysteries, we'll say, right? Occult mysteries. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think they're synergistic, right? They help explain one another. Science is the logic part of it, right? But there is, whether it works on a quantum level, I mean, whether you want to call it magic, right? M-A-J-I-K, not M-A-G. If you want to call it, real magic or like word magic or, them summoning an essence or a power from somewhere else or, opening a rift to another dimension. It could be, there's a spiritual level to it. There's a magical, mystical level to it, for lack of a better term, Kev. But there's also a scientific level to it. I think both of those complement each other. And this isn't something, there's nothing new under the sun here, folks. This is the same stuff that the Nazis were doing back in the 30s and well into World War II, that they were trying to summon different entities from another dimension in order to get knowledge and acquire information from them. And this is, again, they weren't the first ones that did that either. There were writings going back to ancient cultures that did the same thing. Nothing new under the sun. I do, however, disagree, and I get he's the creator and all that, and that's great. I disagree with his theory, though, that they don't care about us, just like we don't care about ants. I live in Florida, and I'm going to tell you what, if you don't care about the fire ants down here, they'll become quite a problem. And I think the same way that we are ants to them, for sure, because on a galactic intelligence scale, like I said, we're kindergartners, right? We're still children. We're very low on the totem pole.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to the ants, because if you don't pay attention to the ants, they can invade your house. Next thing you know, you have an ant colony in your wall. Just saying. So I think that they do pay attention to us, and to a degree, just like you would throw ant poison down on the ground to poison an ant colony, maybe that's why they get us to, maybe they do. Here's a little woo. Maybe the people that the idea for chemtrails and geoengineering, right? People say, oh, they're spraying stuff that could kill us or keep it, whatever. Maybe some of that is because they're doing just, the vaccines.
Good point.
It's just like putting ant killer on the ants in your backyard. So maybe the guy's right. They do look at us like ants, but we also exterminate ants and keep an eye on them when their colonies get a little bit too big, don't we?
That's true. That's true. And before I get Joe's thoughts and Scott's thoughts, before we wrap up, always like to play this clip because that comes from this character here, Suzanne Gildert. Sorry, the other one's Olivia Norton. I bear her no harm whatsoever. She's pretty cool. She's more the science one on the right-hand side. But on the left-hand side, that's Suzanne Gildert, and she is the one that talks a little bit like this.
It's a bit more like a black magic than sort of science at this point, but it's really fun.
Yeah, bit more like black magic, Joe. And of course, Geordie Rose, this is one of his slides in the presentation that he's making to budding software engineers. We're hiring demonologists, have been stroked out, and it says software engineers. That's just the kind of guy he is, man.
He is. He definitely likes to stoke the flames, if you will, and get everybody going.
Isn't it all good publicity, though? Isn't that all good, like, for PR? I mean, there's no such thing as bad PR, right?
It is. But again, the things that they're doing, I agree with Popeye. I think that's exactly what's going on. It's kind of like a twofold thing. Yeah, they get to kill a lot of people as they deploy this technology, but at the same time, they get these, their pesky little humans to go ahead and build their machines that allow them to, manifest and wreak their havoc in our world, in our dimension, if you will. So, I don't know.
Dinosaurs Attack, Kev. Just look up. Remember the Dinosaurs Attack baseball cards I made you guys look up years ago on Freaky Friday? Yeah. What were they doing at the space station Prometheus? They were opening an interdimensional portal, and what happened? a reptilian-looking creature that kind of looked like a cross between reptilians and Satan. There's that dark occult reference again. It came through and created all this chaos and mayhem. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. It's an allegory. I really do honestly believe that there is something they're reaching out to. I mean, we don't know, right? We don't really know. That's why they keep everybody, don't pay attention to anything. And then if they do summon it, wasn't there a plan to bring about like a new world religion where it was under? Maybe they're trying to summon forth what they consider to be God.
And wouldn't Los Alamos, does that fall under the Department of Energy, Joe? You know, the ones that openly talk about accessing other dimensions. You know, like in the show Stranger Things,
You know that nuclear weapons testing and all that is all under the Department of Energy.
Yep.
So
And by the way, the Department of Energy was created under Carter to deal with the oil crisis in the 70s. So how they went from that
to dimensional doorways is anyone's guess.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, Kev. You know.
Yeah,
it is.
You're
but
oil,
guys,
you can't get into another dimension.
We're out of time. We're out of time for another week. In fact, we've gone long over time. But of course, Popeye was fashionably late. You know, the first rule of live bearding.
Long-winded, yes.
First rule of live bearding, leave Kevin right until the last moment so he has to fuck around with the stream. That's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Did I give you a heart attack, Kev?
Hashtag trust the plan.
Trust the plan.
Trust the beard.
Kev,
trust the beard.
Here on Quirth, everything goes according to the plan.
Well, see, you're actually trying to... You've brought me under your spell and I'm trying to grow a Popeye.
Soon. Kev, relax. Soon. A couple more weeks. Just be patient.
We've just got to trust the plan.
Just trust the plan.
Once the arrests happen, I'll get a beard like a man. And a sex robot.
You might be able to actually grow facial hair.
Come on, Joe, before we go, Joe.
I wish I could do that. I got to take testosterone, I think.
Come on, Joe, before we go, we need to have one last look at that lovely face you pulled. Come on, to music. Come on. There it is, folks. For $999, you can hire a Joe Joseph sex doll. Until next week, we're out of here, folks.
Peace from Quirth.
Yes, all is well on Quirth.